Hi, welcome to part 2 of becoming an altar server. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the offertory and assisting the priest at the altar. I know we've said this before, but we want you to remember that you really can make a big difference here at the parish by becoming an altar server. So we're going to begin by looking at some familiar and maybe some unfamiliar parts of the Mass, things that you will see at the altar. First, we begin with this table, which have the gifts that are going to be brought up to the altar. And you've seen these things before, but let's take a second and find out what their proper names are. The first item we're looking at is called a decanter, and that's where the wine is kept. And this is called a ciborium, and when you open it, it has the bread. So this table right here is found right near the altar, and it's called the Credence Table. On this table is everything that the priest is going to use for Mass, except for those gifts that are going to be brought up during the offertory. So let's take a second and learn what the proper names of everything are. So this is what the altar looks like from where the priest is standing. And right now you can see everything on it. This is how it's going to look when you set it up. The first thing you'll put on there is the missal, which is where the priest says the prayers of the liturgy of the Eucharist. This cloth, which kind of looks like an open napkin that has a red cross, is called a corporal, and it's actually very important. All the important things need to be directly on this corporal. Right here, we see the chalice and the ciborium covered by something that's called a pall. So let's take a second and look at those. Next up, we're going to look at what looks like some napkins in front of those cups, and they're actually called purificators. Those purificators are going to be used to wipe the cups when someone drinks from them. The cups themselves will be filled with the precious blood of Christ. This right here is called the water cruet, and the priest will actually pour some of this water into the chalice with the wine before he consecrates it. Let's just take one more second to look at the altar and how it's going to be when you're done setting it up. It's really not hard to do, it's just knowing what goes where. This last thing we're going to look at is called the Lavabo Jug and the Bowl, and you're actually going to pour some of this water on the priest's hands to purify them before he continues to celebrate the liturgy of the Eucharist. Oh, let's look at what we're going to be doing at Mass. During the universal prayer of the Church, where we normally say, "Lord, hear our prayer," Father will end the prayer, and then he will close the book, and you guys will go back to the credence table when everyone else sits down. As you can see, the altar servers are taking the things off the credence table and placing them onto the altar. As you go up the altar, remember to watch those steps, and you really do want to work together. It really doesn't take a lot of time to set the altar, it's just knowing what you're doing. So how do you take a blank altar and make it look like this? Well, there's actually just a few steps, so let's see what it's like to do it in order. First, you want to place the missal to the left of the corporal because that's where the priest is going to read the prayers from. Next, you want to place the chalice with the pall on top and the ciborium right onto the corporal because those are very important. Lastly, you want to place the cups and the purificators that go with them on the corporal that's all the way at the end of the altar. Notice too that the chalice at the center also needs its own purificator. Now when you're done, you're simply going to go back to your seats, and when the ushers are done taking up the collection, the priest is going to motion to you to take the cross and take the candles and to head over to the middle of the church where the table of the gifts are. Now, like the opening procession, you see that the altar servers who carry the candles will bow first and come up together, grab the candles at the same time, turn around while facing the back, and head over to the middle of the church. When you get down the aisle, you may see that there is a person or people already carrying the gifts, but if they're not, you're just going to wait until they pick the gifts up. When they look ready, you're going to lead the gift bearers to the altar. They're going to give the gifts of bread and wine to the priest, but you're going to go and put the candles and the cross away. Once again, if you are a candle bearer, remember to come back in front of the altar, bow, and this time you're not going to return to your seats. You're actually going to head back towards the credence table and the altar. A couple of things should happen here. When the priest takes off the lid of the ciborium, an altar server should bring it over to the front of the tabernacle, like so. The other altar servers should take the Lavabo Jug and Bowl and hold them like so that when the priest comes up and puts his hands out, they can wash his hands and then he can dry his hands with the towel. When you're finished, you'll simply take the jug and the bowl and the towel and place it back onto the credence table. Remember that when you do this, that you go up to the top step so the priest doesn't have to bend down too much. He's most likely taller than you. After that, you're just going to stand at the side of the altar before the steps, and from here on out, you're just going to follow the regular order of the Mass. You're going to stand when you're supposed to stand, and you're going to kneel when you're supposed to kneel. Again, thank you so much for watching, and remember, you really can make a difference at our church simply by being an altar server. We hope that you get a lot out of it, and remember how much we believe in you, how much we care about you, and how much we appreciate you. Thank you, and God bless.